Everyone, it is Eric from Flywheel Studio, and today I have a video on how we view and use push notifications in our mobile apps. And this is a really interesting conversation, and it's really triggered by one event and one thing that came to the top of my mind. So on my screen, you see LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has a bunch of games now. They've released some of these, and you have these things with your connections. There's, I think, three games now on LinkedIn. And previously, I've had the LinkedIn app on my phone. It was downloaded. I had notifications on because if I get a message on LinkedIn, I want to promptly know about that and be able to respond to those messages. Now, I have most of the notifications off here, so I don't get notifications for every notification or every new request or everything that happens, but I do get notifications for messages. LinkedIn started sending me a push notification every day to play each of these games. Now they have three games, and every single day I was getting hammered with three different notifications of how many of my connections have played these games and a reminder for me to keep up my streak and play these games. And for me, I do not care about these games. If I am completely bored and on LinkedIn, maybe I will play them, but I do not use LinkedIn for the games. There's no value for me in getting those push notifications, and so I turned them off. And that's a really big conversation point for me because we see in applications two really big things happening related to push notifications. The first one is users will not accept push notifications. Okay. It's actually very low percentages of users that accept these to begin with. And then, secondly, a lot of push notifications just aren't done well. And there's some things to this. There are really simple notifications that I think everyone gets right, but then the more complicated you get, the more difficult it is to get those right and make sure that you're doing a good job of it in the future. So, first, I want to talk about this in terms of the types of push notifications we see and then some best practices. The first type of push notification, and by the way, this is a little bit broad in general strokes. It isn't necessarily that there's only three types. There can be some in between here. The first type, though, is the easiest, and we call these triggered push notifications internally, but they're push notifications that when one user does something, another user gets a push notification. So, for example, if I send you a message, you would get a push notification saying you have a new message. Or if you have requested a to rent a car and I am accepting your request, you would get a push notification that I've accepted this and that you're now booked. Okay, so like a booking confirmation. Or if I pay you on Venmo or another payment app, you would receive a push notification that you have received a payment. And again, these are really easy for the application because, in terms of when you send these and the information you are sending, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, users would want to know that they got paid. We should send that user a push notification. Or if you have a message, you should get a push notification. Otherwise, how would you know to check for that message? The next ones are scheduled push notifications, and these get a little bit tougher. And I want to delineate, the kind of two parts to this. The first one is I think almost everyone believes and knows to some extent that most users do want reminders. And you do want reminders, especially in specific events. So if you have an upcoming calendar appointment, you would probably expect that your device reminds you of that. It says, hey, you have a meeting in 30 minutes or in 10 minutes, whatever your settings are. And that might differ from person to person. And so sometimes you might have that at a settings level for the individual, or a reminder to complete a workout or a notification that you have an upcoming workout. Again, this really helps users stay on track if they're forgetful, and we want to make sure that we give them the opportunity to set those in the settings and then choose what kind of notifications they want so that we can make sure that they are most that they're going to be more successful. Something like don't forget to complete your lesson today or don't forget to complete today's goal. Duolingo, right now in the mobile app industry, is the number one company for push notifications, in my opinion, especially around the scheduled and engagement push notifications. And the reason for that is that they are doing a tremendous job encouraging users to get push notifications and then almost shaming users into completing the actions for that push notification. They are doing an amazing job driving engagement through push notifications that's really above and beyond almost what anyone else is doing in the industry. And the statistics and in their revenue really support that. Now, why is this green and why is this yellow? Okay. These are pretty straightforward to me because when do you send the push notification? Well, you send it when when the action is completed, and when the user should be notified. So in those both happen at the exact same time. Now, when do you schedule content or a push notification for if you're sending a reminder or an upcoming notification? Some of these are easier than others. So in calendar applications and fitness applications, or maybe in Duolingo, we would ask the users, when do you want to be notified? How far in advance do you want to be notified? What is your settings? I want to be notified 10 minutes before every meeting, or I work out at 7 a.m. every day, or I want to practice Spanish at 4:30, right? And we can ask the user that and get their buy-in. Now, sometimes this is a bit difficult. What about Airbnb or a booking application where you have an upcoming stay or maybe an upcoming rental car reservation? You need to think about when you send those push notifications is a reminder to engage those users. So, for instance, you might say, okay, if it's a upcoming Airbnb stay, maybe we want to remind them 7 days in advance and 24 hours in advance because they're going to fly to this destination and we want to send it the day before they fly, right? But on the flip side, maybe a rental car reservation, we're only going to send it 2 hours before they rent the car. And that way they get it at a prompt time, kind of right before they're going to rent that car, and it has the information they need to go to that car rental. Okay. And it's a reminder, hey, just so you know, you said you were going to pick this up from LAX at noon. Here's the information how to get here. Those are a little bit more difficult because you could do it 2 hours in advance. And then if you really looked at the data and you understood how users are using it and the value it provides, you might find out that actually users want it 30 minutes before pickup or maybe the day before. Any of those could be viable options. Your guess is as good as mine there. So we really have to dive into the data. The last one is marketing emails. And sometimes marketing engagement can be combined. There can be some mixed areas there. But a lot of push notifications will let people know, hey, if you use our service within the next 24 hours or 48 hours, you'll get some kind of discount or you'll get free shipping. Or, hi, we've launched a new feature. Come try this new feature. In some applications and to some users, this is incredibly valuable. There are 100% users that will get a 20% off push notification. They will click that notification. They will go into the application and purchase something because you let them know about that discount. There are other users that will say, wow, this is spam. I do not want this. And then they will block push notifications. You as a business need to make sure that you're tracking and understanding that because usually you do not want to risk users turning off push notifications. It means that if you send somebody a 20% off discount if they turn off their push notifications, they might lose these other notifications that are actually really valuable to the user experience and would really drive users to use the application more. And if you looked at the ROI of offering that 20% off, because of the number of people that turned off all their notifications and maybe now use the application less, or have other impacts where you're not even able to notify them of new features or scheduled engagements and reminders, the ROI might be incredibly negative on sending that marketing push notification. So you have to be very careful in understanding your audience, who you are sending these to, and when you're sending them. For what it's worth, you can always segment users in the future. So if you send a notification that says, hey, do you want to get 20% off? You could choose to send that only to people that have accepted that in the past, right? You can create audience segments. You can also, as a best practice, ask users what push notifications they would like. So there's three lessons, and I want to go through these are all best practices. There's three lessons about asking for push notifications, or three best practices. The first one is explain when, why, how, and where you are going to use it. And you should use it for your base case in getting users to turn this on. The most important stuff, typically the triggered push notifications. Okay. And you want to explain this before you ask for the request. This is not something you can edit, this second screen. This is based on the native request permission functionality in iOS or the App Store or Apple or Google Play or Android phones. We don't really get to edit this very much, but we do get to let users know in advance why they should turn this on. And this is our pitch to users. It's incredible. It's an incredibly important pitch to say, please, we will not blow up your phone if you give us push notifications. We'll respect your privacy. This is important. You want to accept this because it's going to make this application more valuable to you and ensure that you have a better user experience. The second lesson or best practice here is if you have multiple different types of push notifications, you should ask, do you want to receive push notification reminders? Do you want to receive marketing reminders or marketing updates or marketing push notifications? Ask the user. Some users will say, yeah, if you have 20% off, I want to know about that. Other users will say, no, I do not ever want to know about that. And you can ask and maintain this information on your side of the application and then choose which users have accepted which notifications. And you can put that in the user settings so they can always edit that. And it's important to let users know that they can change that in the future because the phone itself, the phone settings only give them one option: receive notifications or don't receive notifications. Within your own settings, you can manage more granular settings if the user has the phone notifications on, and you can allow them to turn their notifications on or off within the app. Lastly, for scheduled engagement and marketing, you can ask the user how often or when they want to receive those emails or push notifications. So you can say, when do you want to study? When do you want to complete your workout? How many reminders do you want to receive? How early do you want to receive a reminder before your calendar appointment? Sometimes some of those won't make sense, like in the example of Airbnb. How early do you want to receive a notification for your stay? You might not ask that, okay? Maybe if you have car rental, maybe it says, hey, do you want to receive notifications of your upcoming car rentals? You could ask that, but some of those you don't necessarily maybe ask in most applications. But it is very common in workout apps or language learning apps, apps that have user habits that you ask the user when they want to receive notifications and reminders. You can also ask people what type of discount notifications they want to receive or the frequency of those. Don't send me one more than once a week, or send me everything, and let the users decide. As long as users decide, you're also getting their buy-in, and that's an incredibly important part in the mobile application development process. The second thing is add value through these push notifications. Now, this is a little bit blurry, but it says Uber, 1 minute to pick up. Anderson is arriving soon. Here's the car information, and you can kind of see the progress for that driver. Uber's a great example of an app where I want to receive a ton of push notifications from them when I am scheduling a ride. I do not want any Uber Eats notifications though. And if they spam me about Uber Eats, I'm more likely to turn off, at least me personally. I'm not saying that they haven't thought through this or anything else. They have probably done their math on this, but I'm more likely to turn off all notifications if I can't get rid of the spam ones and then just keep the app open instead of getting these notifications about where my ride is or the time to pick up, which really degrades the user experience for me and can degrade the driver's experience if they're left waiting. Lastly, A/B test your push notifications. You can try different things and you can track and analyze those. You can see which push notifications perform better, how often users open those, and you can see if it has an effect on users accepting push notifications as well. Then you can look at the ROI. Okay, how many users bought something because we sent them a 30% off stickers, shirts, and more? Is that worth it for the number of users that received the notification? What about the negative effects of this? This is incredibly important in marketing. If you are doing a significant amount of marketing push notifications, you need to be tracking these as individual experiments and seeing how they perform. That's a little bit about how we approach push notifications at Flywheel Studio, trying to make sure that users have the best experience possible. And to some extent, your app gets the highest ROI possible through driving that better user experience through push notifications. Now, every app is different. Every push notification can be different too. If you have any questions, reach out to Flywheel Studio and we'd be happy to help you understand more about push notifications, how to drive engagement, and improve that user experience.